The galaxy stretched endlessly, a tapestry of stars and nebulae, each one burning with light older than most civilizations could comprehend. To the advanced species who charted it, it was a landscape of certainty and control, a realm where every calculation had its answer and every variable could be measured, predicted, and exploited. Among these empires, the Thrynn Dominion had long held sway, AI's a crystalline species whose intellect rivaled the brightest stars, whose civilization was a monument to logic, discipline, and unbroken conquest. Their fleets moved like liquid glass across the void, calculating trajectories and orbital entry points with precision so fine that even the tiniest deviation was considered unacceptable, a flaw to be corrected before any mission began. And yet, across the dark gulf of interstellar space, the Dominion's sensors had detected a faint, fragile signal emanating from a small, blue-green planet tucked into the spiral arm of a galaxy most deemed unremarkable Earth to the Dominion's understanding. It was a minor world, barely industrialized, lacking even rudimentary fleets capable of interstellar travel. Its population was scattered, disorganized, and technologically primitive by galactic standards. Mere curiosity in the endless sea of stellar dominions. The High Consul Rallin, a towering figure of faceted crystalline limbs and resonant voice, convened his council aboard the Zitharian, the Dominion's flagship, its interior a lattice of shimmering energy conduits and crystalline data matrices. "Prepare the coordinates for Earth," Rallin intoned, each syllable vibrating with authority. "Its defenses are negligible. Its people, insignificant. We shall take. They will submit." Across the chamber, a junior officer named Chevet, a trembling mesh of translucent fibers, nodded in precise synchrony. "Calculations indicate their resistance would be inconsequential," Chevet said, its voice quivering as the vibrations of its form harmonized with the high-pitched resonance of the command chamber. The words were delivered not in arrogance but as simple fact, a reflection of millennia of conquest and the Dominion's unmatched mastery over the predictable laws of war. Cruelty, inefficiency, and error had no place in the Thrynn calculus. Extinction was a tool, and humanity, by every metric, was a minor, easily dismissed variable. And yet, even as the fleet prepared to descend upon the pale blue planet, a subtle anomaly flickered across the Dominion's sensor grids. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it suggested something that no algorithm could immediately quantify: adaptability, improvisation, and an energy signature that seemed to defy prediction. Earth's inhabitants were not entirely inert. Somewhere in the chaos of their civilization, in the bustling cities and quiet villages, in the forests and oceans, something was stirring, a spark of unpredictability that the Dominion could not yet comprehend. The ships of the Dominion descended like blades of liquid crystal, their paths perfectly calculated, their strikes precise to the millimeter. But as they entered Earth's atmosphere, they encountered resistance. Not the heavy, coordinated resistance of fleets or armies, but something subtler, more human. Electromagnetic pulses erupted from makeshift towers atop desert plateaus, scattering scanning arrays and blinding orbital sensors. Satellites, long thought redundant by the Dominion's superior technology, flickered, their signals scrambled by the ingenuity of men and women who had only ever seen the stars as points of wonder, not conquest. In New Mexico, a team of engineers, scientists, and ex-military personnel had anticipated the Dominion's approach. Having studied orbital patterns, gravitational interference, and satellite telemetry, using a combination of scavenged equipment, repurposed drones, and sheer intuition, they disrupted the invaders' data streams, turning carefully orchestrated assaults into chaotic gambits. One man, a former pilot named Elias Moreno, watched the flickering display of Dominion ships on a jury-rigged console in a small desert compound. "They don't know what they're dealing with," he muttered, adjusting the angle of a makeshift EMP emitter. "We're unpredictable." And unpredictable they were. In cities around the globe, civilians modified ordinary cargo vessels into orbital interceptors. Scientists hacked Dominion surveillance drones mid-flight, and children of all ages turned playgrounds into observation posts, tracking the invaders with binoculars and homemade sensor arrays. Humanity did not fight in straight lines or according to calculated probabilities. They fought with intuition, improvisation, and the kind of chaotic creativity that the Dominion's calculations could not account for. The Dominion, Creatures who had long prided themselves on their mastery of logic began to feel something unfamiliar. Confusion. Algorithms failed. Predictive models collapsed. Every attempt to suppress the humans only revealed a new method of resistance, a new improvisation that no amount of calculation could anticipate. In orbit above the Atlantic, a squadron of Dominion cruisers attempted to deploy energy beam cannons against coastal cities, only to find the beams diffused by a network of reflective drones, each one crafted from scrap materials and guided not by programming, but by human instinct. It's as if they anticipate our moves. Admiral Tevrix whispered to his fellow council members, his crystalline form quivering with uncharacteristic unease. Their logic is flawed, yet effective, inefficient, chaotic, unpredictable. These were not words the Dominion often associated with success, and yet, as the first ships faltered and were forced to retreat, Rallin felt the first pricklings of doubt. Humans were weak, yet they endured. Primitive, yet effective. Fragile, yet frighteningly resilient. And as the sun rose over a world that had not yet even tasted the true breadth of interstellar war, the Thrynn Dominion began to understand a disquieting truth. Earth was not just a target. It was an anomaly, a challenge that could not be reduced to numbers or probabilities. And somewhere, deep within the sprawling cities and remote deserts, humanity was preparing to prove that even the smallest, most chaotic species could defy the coldest calculus of the stars. The first contact, though brief, set the tone for what would become a struggle that no one, not even the most calculating, minds of the Thrynn Dominion could have anticipated. Across the globe, Dominion ships glinted against Earth skies like shards of crystal poised to strike, their orbital cannons charged with energy so precise it could obliterate entire cities with a single calculated blast. Yet for every cannon deployed, there was a human countermeasure, improvised and unpredictable, crafted from ingenuity born not of strategy manuals but of necessity, intuition, and desperation. In the deserts of North America, massive EMP generators, jury-rigged from solar arrays, shipping containers, and repurposed radar equipment, created fields of interference that forced Dominion sensors into blind spots. Engineers worked in shifts, their hands blistered, faces streaked with sweat, as they rewired circuits at impossible angles, improvising defenses that had no precedent in any known manual of warfare. One young engineer, a woman named Lila Ortega, crouched beneath a twisted framework of metal and wires, murmuring instructions to her colleagues as they connected fragile energy conduits. "The signal has to hit the orbital grid precisely in this frequency," she said, her voice trembling, "or the pulse will just scatter. We need perfection in chaos." Her team moved with a frantic grace, each movement coordinated without formal planning, their instincts guiding them in a way that no calculation could replicate. And in the cities, the same chaos reigned. But it was structured chaos, a paradox of human thought. In Tokyo, the skyline glimmered with the lights of rooftop surveillance drones, each one capturing the movement of Dominion crafts and relaying information to teams of scientists and civilians below. They hacked the Dominion's own reconnaissance satellites, turning the enemy's eyes into a tool for resistance. The invaders' crystalline vessels, designed for precision and dominance, began to falter, disoriented by an unpredictable network of interference that grew denser and more intricate with each passing hour. On the coasts of Africa, human ingenuity took a different form. Fishermen and engineers had retrofitted cargo ships with kinetic deflection arrays, turning them into mobile orbital interceptors capable of redirecting incoming projectiles or energy beams. Pilots, many of whom had never before left the atmosphere, learned to navigate debris fields, improvising paths through orbital traffic that no Dominion algorithm could predict. Each maneuver, each countermeasure, sent the Thrynn Dominion into uncharted territory. "They anticipate patterns that do not exist," murmured Admiral Tevrix as he observed orbital skirmishes through his crystalline lenses, which could perceive the subatomic shifts of energy beams in real time. "Every strike we plan is met with something we cannot quantify." High Consul Rallin, pacing across the luminescent floors of the Zetherian, considered this new development with an unease that had never touched him before. Logic demanded that humans were incapable of such coordination, that improvisation on this scale was impossible without millennia of technological evolution or centralized command. Yet the humans were not following algorithms, they were improvising, reacting, learning faster than the Dominion had predicted. It was not merely technology that allowed them to resist, it was creativity, intuition, and an unyielding will to survive. In Paris, a coalition of civilians and engineers had constructed decoy supply lines using outdated transport vehicles, holographic projections, and improvised signal repeaters. Dominion Reconnaissance, reliant on precise scans of energy emissions and movement patterns, found itself chasing phantom targets, wasting valuable time and resources on illusions crafted from nothing more than wires, lights, and the human imagination. Meanwhile, in the jungles of South America, the same ingenuity took on a guerrilla form. Small teams of humans, equipped with repurposed drones and knowledge of the terrain, engaged Dominion landing parties in ambushes that seemed at first uncoordinated but were in fact carefully improvised. Energy beams ricocheted harmlessly off trees. Kinetic barriers caused enemy dropships to stall mid-descent, and communications were intercepted and redirected in real time by human hackers. The Dominion had calculated human resistance as negligible. Yet here, in the dense foliage, it became painfully apparent that even the smallest units could disrupt their most precise operations. On the home front, ordinary citizens became soldiers in ways they could never have imagined. In the United States, teenagers monitored orbital activity from high school rooftops, relaying information to the improvisational defense networks that crisscrossed the planet. Farmers modified irrigation systems into electromagnetic nets that could short-circuit landing craft. Medics and scientists collaborated to create improvised field generators, capable of redirecting energy beams or dispersing surveillance arrays. In the process, human communities grew closer, connected by a shared purpose that no alien calculation could have anticipated. And everywhere the humans acted, the Dominion recoiled not from firepower, not from strategy, but from unpredictability itself. The crystalline commanders, so accustomed to dominance through logic, were forced to adapt, to reconsider, and to acknowledge that these creatures, small, fragile, chaotic humans, had created a network of resistance that defied every model they had ever used. On the orbital command deck of the Zetherian, tension resonated through the crystalline forms of the Council. "Their resistance is inconsistent," Tivrik said, his voice breaking against the hum of the ship's power core. "And yet it works, it is." Infuriating. Raylan's eyes, faceted like the edges of a diamond, narrowed as he stared at Earth below, watching city lights flicker with activity that was both random and coordinated. "It is not inconsistent," he corrected, his voice a mixture of awe and frustration. "It is human. They are learning, improvising, anticipating, and responding in ways that no model can predict. Every flaw in their design, every mistake, every imperfection, becomes a weapon against us, Dominion." Fleets adjusted their attack patterns again and again, but every maneuver was met with new improvisations from humans, who by every measure should have been defenseless. In the deserts of Nevada, an orbital cannon that had been aimed to obliterate a major city was neutralized by a combination of reflective drones, EMP bursts, and improvised signal jammers, all coordinated by a group of volunteers who had never met in person but shared data in real time through hacked communication networks. Across the world, similar stories played out. Humans taking what the Dominion had considered weaknesses, imperfect coordination, flawed equipment, fragmented command, and transforming them into a network of resistance that was not only effective but increasingly audacious. In London, the engineers coordinating rooftop drone swarms laughed with disbelief as Dominion landing crafts were rerouted into empty industrial zones, each misstep amplifying the humans' confidence and resolve. In Lagos, civilians rigged shipping containers to act as kinetic absorbers, redirecting orbital debris and energy pulses harmlessly into uninhabited areas. Each victory, small as it might seem from the perspective of a global conflict, became a testament to human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a refusal to submit to what the Thrynn Dominion had assumed was inevitable. Within the council chambers of the Zetherian, the word began to circulate, first in whispers, then in mounting acknowledgement. Unpredictable. Humans were unpredictable. Their logic was flawed, their strategies chaotic, yet their actions achieved results that no amount of calculation could explain. The Thrynn Dominion had underestimated them, and with every passing hour, that underestimation threatened to unravel the foundation of their plans. And as the sun rose once again over Earth, painting forests, cities, deserts, and oceans in shades of gold and blue, it became clear that the conflict would not be won by firepower or precise calculations alone.